Aloha, this is Roger Heska, and I'm very excited to give you a savory veggie stews update, a new recipe that is very delicious with a food that for years I didn't even really know I could eat raw. I don't know why so many people assume you have to cook this food. Not at all. Not at all. There's nothing special you have to do except chop off the bottom starchy part of it, and the rest, just eating it plain is, if you get good quality of this, is just delicious. So this stew is not only delicious, but it's super nutrient dense. So what I'm doing today is I'm going to go over some of those nutrients and show you, just really go in depth with that. The actual recipe itself, if you want to just go and you don't want to see all of this nutrient stuff, you can see it in two ways. Either one, this mind map, this Workflowy Mind Map that contains the recipe, you should have received that link to that mind map in your email. Okay, so you can go to that directly and click on the basic recipe. Also, what I'll do is I'll quickly go over in this video. Right after this, I will go over the recipe. I'll just show it in the video. I'm not really going to talk about it. It's just going to take up extra time. Just going into the nutrients itself is going to take a little while, so I'm not going to really talk about the recipe. It's just a basic kind of savory veggie stew recipe. Though I have added in a new twist, I now add noodles and choppings to the recipes, or zoodles, zucchini noodles. And I just love doing that. And there's a fantastic tool to make these noodles quick. Super quick. And it takes about 10 seconds or less to clean it. It's just, you just get a brush, run it through water, flip the side over, it's done. Super easy to clean. Love, love, love this tool. Highly recommend you get it. Okay, here we go. All right, so the new stew is creamy asparagus, super nutrient stew. Okay, of course, this is a super delicious and super nutrient dense savory veggie stew. We'll go into this in a second. First, let's just go over the recipe. Let's expand that. I wonder if I could expand all. Oh yeah, just in one shot, I'll expand it all. All right, so the whole recipe is right there and here. Wow. Okay. If you expand it all, it takes up a lot of space. So you can just go through it here, or if you want, just look at it directly on the mind map. Okay? I'm not going to go into that. You can just be easier for you to read it. I think it's fairly straightforward, especially if you know how to make a basic savory veggie stew. All savory veggie stews follow a very similar pattern. Okay? All right, so we'll fold that up. Now, some quick nutrient information on the foods. So the main food for this, of course, is asparagus, and it's highly nutritious with a nutrient completeness score of 94. And then the stew also contains spinach, which has a nutrient completeness score of 91. Now, let's talk about that. Okay. The nutrient completeness score, is not a complete number. Okay. It's not the only thing to take into consideration. Okay. Their number, first of all, their number only includes the most standard of nutrients measured by the U.S. government, or the RDA kind of nutrients. And there are many hundreds and thousands of other nutrients. So this doesn't mean that, that this is necessarily the best food in the world to eat, but these are going to be some of the best, okay, in terms of nutrients. 2, a high number in nutrient completeness score does not always mean better. It simply means a greater diversity of nutrients that are at a relatively high level, but not necessarily at a super high level, just a relatively high level. Okay. For instance, if I had only one choice of eating spinach or asparagus, I would take spinach, even though it has a 91 nutrient completeness score and asparagus has 94. Because it has way more overall nutrients, and in some important categories, it totally blows away asparagus. Like, it's way better, for instance, an omega-3 fatty acid. It has a much better omega-3 to omega-6, because it's harder to get enough omega-3s. Spinach gives you way more. Also, spinach kills asparagus in the sodium. And sodium is something that's not always so easy to get on a raw food diet, fruit-based diet, especially if you're not adding salt, which I highly recommend you don't. Okay, so and there's other things that sort of make spinach stand out. Yet asparagus is higher, let's say, for instance, in selenium and some other nutrients. But overall, spinach has way more of the same nutrients that asparagus has. Let's say, except for maybe selenium and maybe zinc. It's higher in protein. It's higher in many things, and yet spinach gets a lower nutrient completeness score. So what I'm trying to tell you is that's not the complete picture. All right, so that's it for that. Let's see. Okay, let's talk about some other nutrients. Celery. Okay, so that one gets a nutrient completeness score of 81. And celery is also very high in organic sodium, or from a living plant source, not salt. It doesn't damage you like salt does. And it's vitally important to your health, this organic sodium. It even helps to heal a whole bunch of different things. Really, really powerful stuff. Then we're going to put in okra choppings. Okay, and okra is technically a fruit, I think. It's got seeds in it, but it's not a sweet fruit. It's green. It's a green as far as I'm concerned. A green with seeds, and has a nutrient completeness score of 90. It's also a fantastic source of manganese. And spinach, by the way, is even a better source of manganese. But great sources of manganese, both of those. So you'll be chopping up the okra, just sort of chop off the tops and then just chop off into slices for the okra. And you can put it as choppings on top of your stew. It's really delicious. If you like that, it's completely optional. All these choppings are optional. You can use whatever you want. Okay. Zucchini. Let's close this up. Zucchini has a nutrient completeness score of 86. Okay, and this is also another fruit vegetable. All right, and this will be used as your noodles or zoodles. All right, so that's it for here. Let's go into the nutrients. All right, what do we got here? All right, so I have the complete recipe in here. I could expand it to show all the nutrients, which I think I will, because it will be more meaningful. You'll understand better where all the nutrients are coming from. So, by the way, this whole thing, it's a large stew, by the way. It serves about 2 people. I eat it by myself because I like to get in a lot of greens. But the whole thing, including all the choppings, is 401 calories. There's quite a bit in here. So let's explode this recipe. So I right-click over that, explode the recipe, and now you're going to see all the individual ingredients. These ingredients are some of them are slightly different than I have in the recipe. So the amounts. So you can vary the amounts. You don't have to do exactly what I said in the recipe. These are just general guidelines, and just keep making them and experimenting. Depending on your needs, you might add a little more of this, a little less of that. For instance, tomatoes, sometimes I only add like 270 grams of tomatoes to this recipe if I want it to be a little less liquidy. All right? So, but let's just take a look. So this is just assuming that you only ate this stew. What do we got here? So 46% of the targets, and the best I usually do if I really, eat a lot, and I might get about 46% of the targets in my daily diet. You're ready at 69% fiber. You're ready at 144% iron. You're ready at 101% manganese. You're ready at 33% zinc. You're ready at 164% vitamin C, 17% selenium, 57% vitamin E. So that's pretty good for not even a full meal. Okay, it's very nutrient dense. What about water? Well, supposedly your water is 31% of your so-called water. All right. So you can see the nutrients here, the rest of the nutrients that are not listed up here. Now, what's interesting, what you're going to find, for instance, let's go to manganese. Okay. If I hover over the mouse, then it's going to tell me the top 10 ingredients in the stew in terms of manganese. So spinach is number 1. Tomatoes are number 2. Interestingly enough, asparagus is number 3. Zucchini, number 4. Celery, number 5. Apple, and then the okra. How much okra did I add? Did I properly get the okra? No, I didn't. I thought so. Okay, well, the whole recipe is 418 calories. All right. By the way, let's look at the fat, protein. So it's 84% carbohydrates, 11% protein, and 5% fat for the whole thing, including the choppings. All right. So our numbers are going to be a little different now. So manganese is going to be higher at 118%. So spinach is number 1, tomato number 2, asparagus number 3 at 21%, okra at 17%. Okay, so okra by calorie is just under spinach in terms of manganese. Okay, and it's a very important mineral for your overall health. Okay, like I said, plenty of iron. You can see all the sources of iron. Look how high asparagus is. Of course, by weight, there's 3 times more asparagus than spinach. To just realize that you can't really, and probably significantly more calories. Okay, but just to give you an overall idea how nutritious it is. Some of the hardest things to get on the raw diet are maybe zinc, but especially selenium, unless you're eating a lot of seeds, or Brazil nuts, no problem. Okay, even the protein, we're at 28% protein. Now, by the way, you can ignore this iodine number. I've yet to see any food in their listing that ever triggers iodine. So I'm going to have to remove this from my chart. It's just incomplete. There is no iodine. Also, biotin, I've only seen one food that they actually list biotin, even though biotin is in other foods. This is just a defect of their statistics of what they have available. So you can ignore the biotin and the iodine. It's just irrelevant because they don't have the proper information. So now we're looking at fiber. All right, we're up to 75% fiber. So let's see. Asparagus gives you 21%, tomatoes 18%, celery 8%, apple, spinach, okra, zucchini, lemon, onions, ginger root, raw. Okay, so this is going to give you a nutrient-packed meal, let's just say. All right, now I just want to show you some of the foods, their nutrient completeness score. So let's go to asparagus, for instance. Okay, so I said it's a 94. It's 68% carbs, 5% fat, 27% protein. The protein score is pretty good, 93, but compare that with spinach. Okay, so spinach is only 56% carbs, 14% fats, and 30% protein. Now, it doesn't have a lot of calories, but those calories are loaded with protein. And it's a 119 amino acid score. Here's the 91 completeness score. Remember, this is not the total picture. And you can see more down here. And if you read these foods, they'll tell you, all right, the good, the bad. They'll tell you that this food is high in sodium, therefore it's bad. That aspect of the food is bad. That's pure nonsense. It's good. Okay, sodium is something you need in your diet. What you don't need is salt. So this is total BS, 100% wrong. The sodium in spinach is very, very good for the body, and it will lower your blood pressure. It will not raise blood pressure. So this is complete idiocy. Now, the good, this food is low in saturated fat and very low in cholesterol. It's also a good source of niacin and zinc. Yeah, okay. And a very good source of dietary fiber, protein, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin K, yes, very good vitamin, thiamine, riboflavin, flavin, vitamin B6, folate, calcium, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, copper, and manganese. And we would get similar. Let's take a look what asparagus says. The good. By the way, look at the bad. A large portion of the calories in this food come from sugars. Oh my gosh, 68% carbs. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? Nutrition data, just ridiculous. First of all, carbs are good for you. So this just tells you they're ketogenesis focused, not carb focused. It's just, I don't agree with this at all. Okay, the good. This food is low in saturated fat and very low in cholesterol and sodium. Okay, well, that's the problem, I think, that is low in sodium. So one thing is missing that spinach has in spades. Spinach is rather high in sodium, healthy sodium. It's also a good source, which means, when they say good source, means, okay, a good source of pantothenic acid, calcium, magnesium, zinc, and selenium, and a very good source of dietary fiber, protein, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin K, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, vitamin B6, folate, iron, phosphorus, potassium, copper, and manganese. Okay, and we'll just take a quick look at okra. Okay, you can see some of the stuff here. If you want, you can take the time to read through this. It has a 90 nutrient completeness score, amino acid score of 79, and you can see more down here. Then zucchini, nutrient completeness score of 86. Even zucchini, 18% protein. Let's look at all the protein. Greens are very high in protein. People don't understand this. Per calorie, anyway. 16% protein for okra. Spinach, 30%. Asparagus, 27%. You see? So the zucchini, like I said, 86% nutrient completeness score. The bad, large portion of the calories in this food come from sugars. Oh my God. I'm just going to die. Like I said, the idiocy. I'm sure they're going to ream celery for being so high in sodium. Okay. So celery gets only an 81 nutrient completeness score. But remember, there are thousands of nutrients that are not even listed here. And so you can't go just by these numbers. These are just sort of the main basic minerals. They're not necessarily the most important. So it's still important to get a wide variety of foods, even if they're not always having the highest nutrient completeness score, because there's all sorts of other nutrients that are very beneficial, anti-disease and anti-aging of all kinds. All right. So this one is not as high in the amino acid score. Let's take a look, by the way. So 73% carbs, 10% fats, and 17% protein. So, compared to fruit, most fruit, this is high in protein. But, of course, celery is low in calories. But if you eat plenty of it, it bumps up your protein plenty. Now, the bad. This food is high in sodium, and a large portion of the calories in this food come from sugars. You make it think like you get a sugar rush from eating celery. I mean, celery is basically a negative calorie food. It burns more calories to eat it than than what you get because of all the chewing and digestion. It's just a very low calorie food. Okay, so and of course it's got its so-called positives versus a so-called bad. All right, and then finally I wanted to show you that the slicer over here. These strip slicers, you go to the site here, and there's a link in the mind map to it somewhere. If I expand all. Yeah, there's a link to it here, so you can take a look and order it. It's kind of expensive if you're not in Australia. I'm in the United States, and it's expensive because of the shipping. The shipping is quite expensive, but I couldn't find these particular tools anywhere else. So I've gotten a number of things from this company. They got some really great stuff, high quality. Okay, even if it doesn't necessarily look it from their website may not be so high quality. But yeah, so the thinner one is for the angel hair, and this one is for like a slightly thicker noodle. The thicker one you can chop really fast, okay, because it takes off a lot more at once. The thinner one, the angel hair, takes maybe twice as long or 3 times as long to get, to process the same amount of zucchini. But I often like the thin noodles, especially in my stew, but I use them both, depending on what I'm doing. All right, so just wanted to recommend this to you. I think it'll make your life a lot more fun. You can make lots of short noodles. You can make long noodles with it too. I don't like making long noodles with this tool. I prefer shorter noodles. They're much, much quicker to make, much safer to make with that tool. Although there's ways to make it safe, like you can get gloves, no cut kind of gloves, or other methods like with the hand guard or whatever. If you have, let's say, a mandolin slicer, you can use that guard and slide it down. They sell their own guard too for some of their other things. So I think that's it. That's it for the creamy asparagus super nutrient stew. I think you're going to enjoy it. I think you're going to enjoy raw asparagus too. Okay. And I don't know if I said this before, but I actually really enjoy eating raw asparagus on its own too. Let's say you're on a car trip and you want to get some greens, just get some asparagus and you just take it, eat it. And when you get to a part that starts getting too crunchy, get rid of it. And I didn't know that for years. For most of my raw food life, I didn't know that you could just eat asparagus, and I didn't know it tasted good. So I don't know. I found out about this maybe a year and a half ago. I don't know. I've been making this creamy asparagus recipe for a long time. A lot of the times it comes out good. Remember, the better your quality of ingredients, especially the better quality of your tomatoes, will make the stew much more delicious. So also the galangal, if you can find that in Asian markets, the galangal root, there's galangal root versus ginger. And either one is optional. You don't have to add them at all, okay? But galangal root's got this divine, like mustardy kind of flavor. Just really fantastic stuff. I love using it. I've been out of it for several months. I'm not near an Asian market, and I haven't been to an Asian market area in a while. So when I am, I will get some more. I like to get frozen galangal. You keep it in the fridge, and you just take out a little bit, and you just add it in. When you get the fresh, after about a week to 10 days or something, it usually turns from something you can cut with a knife very easily to turns into like a piece of wood, and then it's no good. But if you keep it frozen, you just take off a slice here or there. You can keep it indefinitely for many, many months, probably years even. So that's my tip. Go to the Asian market, get the sliced galangal that's frozen. It'll last a lot longer. As far as I'm concerned, it tastes exactly the same. So this is Roger Heska, the Eternal Teenager, hoping you enjoy your creamy asparagus stew. And if you have any questions or comments on the stew, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Take care. So long.